2024. It's 9 a.m. We have excused absences for Jane Plummer. I would also like to have a vote to accept Dawn Suddeth on Zoom. Could I have a motion and a second for that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Jim and a second by Doug. Is there any objection to that motion?
No, but the participation on Zoom is for extraordinary circumstances.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, so is Dawn up and running or no? Not yet.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you're here,
Morning.
Dawn?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, today you're in the mountains. That's so nice. Good to see you, Dawn.
Sit down.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you,
Good
everybody.
to see you.
If you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Oh, I skipped the invocation, but that's all right. If I could have a motion, please, for the approval of the minutes for April 9th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Are there any changes or additions to those minutes? Hearing none. Is there any objection to that motion? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Next item is public comment. If somebody is here to participate in one of the cases we have before us, I highly recommend that you wait until that case comes before us, so you'll be part of the record for it. But if you're just here to tell us something, come on up now. Anybody? Yeah, everybody's here for business. Okay, we'll move on. The first case this morning is DCI 202-30197, 841 Estero Boulevard. This is an ordinance of the town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions or denying the commercial plan development, CPD, zoning for the property located at 841 Estero, generally identified as strap numbers 244623W30050B0010, Fort Myers Beach, providing for other clarifications as necessary, providing for conflicts of law, Scrivener's errors, severability, and providing for an effective date. Nancy?
Thank you. I'd like to make a few comments, if I may. So on your agenda today, you have 5 matters that are quasi-judicial in nature. Your last item on your agenda is regarding your comprehensive plan, and that one is legislative in nature. So the 5 quasi-judicial items, this requires the public hearings that we'll be having today to comply with some procedural requirements that have been established in Florida law and in our land development code. So these 5 quasi-judicial proceedings, they will be less formal than proceedings that would occur in a circuit court, but they are going to be more formal than the remainder of our meeting, and they will follow the basic standards of due process that requires that certain notices have been provided, the application of the correct standards, and your decisions made on competent and substantial evidence that will be presented to you either in written documents or through oral testimony. You will then evaluate the testimony and the information that has been given to you and draw a conclusion regarding whether the criteria in the Land Development Code or in state law, as may be applicable, has been satisfied. So pure speculation and opinion that is not based on competent facts should legally not be considered by you in evaluating whether or not a criteria has been satisfied. Testimony by professionals who have been qualified as experts in a particular area has been considered competent and substantial evidence by our Florida courts, as well as testimony by neighbors and residents who have fact-based information, such as minutes, surveys, engineering reports, or testimony that's based on their personal knowledge. So members of the public and those here today, if you intend to speak, please keep these comments in mind. When you come forward, we ask that you state your name clearly in the record and whether or not you've been sworn in, your qualifications as an expert, or your interest in the matter. So for purposes of efficiency, Madam Chair, we would like to go ahead and address the issue of noticing. And I need to ask the town clerk, have all agenda items been properly noticed?
Yes, they have been.
Okay, and at this time, if there are any members of the LPA that may have a conflict of interest in any of the 4 items, would you please disclose this for the record so we can assure that we have a quorum present for review of the item?
Patrick?
I've got a conflict with the first item. I shall be recusing myself. I have also provided the form to Amy filled out.
Thank you. And we do have that in our possession, the Form 8B, and that will be attached to your minutes of the, when you approve them at the next meeting for documentation of that. Also at this time, we would like anyone in the public or staff or any experts that are participating today to please stand and raise your right hand so the clerk can administer the oath.
That includes public comment.
Yes, anyone who's going to be commenting as well.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. All parties have been sworn.
So, Madam
you,
Chair,
everyone.
I believe you can now proceed with your first item following ex parte disclosures.
Thank you, Nancy. John, any ex parte on this case?
None.
How about you, Jim?
No ex parte.
Thank you. Doug?
No, ma'am.
And Patrick is recused. Okay,
No
so,
ex parte for me either.
oh, and, you know, look, he's looming, but, Don, any ex parte?
No ex parte, thank you.
All right, thank you, thank you. Okay, we'll start with the staff report. I already read the title. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's as close as.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Good morning, Sarah Probst with Community Development. The Neighborhood Company, on behalf of 7-Eleven Inc., the property owner of 841 Estero Boulevard, has applied for a commercial plan development rezoning to redevelop the property on the corner of Lagoon Street and Estero Boulevard with a convenience store. The downtown zone property was the site of a 7-Eleven prior to Hurricane Ian. A convenience store is allowed by right in the downtown zoning district. However, the request requires several deviations from the Land Development Code for site design, and therefore the applicant is proposing a CPD. The proposed development requires several deviations. The first deviation is from LDC Section 34706D, which requires that when properties are fronting on Estero Boulevard, existing driveway and parking spaces shall be relocated from Estero Boulevard to a secondary street, and new driveways shall connect only to the secondary street except where these requirements would prohibit a reasonable access to the property. The deviation would allow a driveway connecting to Estero Boulevard and to Lagoon Street. A deviation from Section 10-285 along Estero Boulevard and Lagoon Street. The deviation would allow driveway separation along Estero Boulevard to be a minimum of 80 feet and a minimum of approximately 60 feet along Lagoon Street. A deviation from vehicle separation requirements, 34706, to allow a parking lot to be located primarily. I think that I've confused those two. My apologies. Those are the correct code sections, but those are not set up quite right. There's a deviation to allow the parking lot to be located primarily fronting on Estero Boulevard. And a deviation from Section 342020D to I-1, which requires a minimum of 4 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet of total floor area, or 14 parking spaces for the 3,500 square foot convenience store, to allow a reduction of 5 parking spaces for 8 parking spaces. The proposed development request should be evaluated according to 3485B and C and 34216 of the LDC. Deviations must be approved, modified, or rejected per the findings in Section 34216-4. Staff's application of these evaluative codes can be found in the staff report. Staff is available for any questions you may have, and the applicant is also here.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, any questions for Sarah this morning?
No.
Okay. We'll have the applicant. Good morning, Ken.
Morning. Good morning again, Madam Chair, board members. For the record, I'm Ken Galander, agent on behalf of 7-Eleven, Inc. Appreciate your time again, and here we are with our third 7-Eleven. Maybe more, but never know. But I do have a presentation prepared, but for the record, just to start off, we're full agreement with the staff report recommendations and their conditions. We are consistent with the comprehensive plan and the criteria under the LDC Section 3485B and C, 34216 and 2. Also not aware of any public opposition, so I could move forward with the presentation, or we can just move on. You have all the packet and the information available to you, so
We've all
at your
reviewed it. You're absolutely right. Thank you for the offer to save us time today. Does anybody have questions for Ken?
No.
Would you prefer that he go through step by step the presentation? John?
Not for me.
Yeah, I'm okay if we waive it.
Okay. How about you, Doug?
Me too.
And how about you, Don?
Yeah, I'm fine to waive it.
Okay.
Assume it read.
great.
Okay. Nancy, there's no
So
necessity.
you've acknowledged on the record that the materials are in the packet
And that
and
we
you've
have reviewed
reviewed them all. So your decision will be based on the information in the
Yes,
packet and the application of that to the criteria. And he's available for any questions you may have. So
Thank you,
we're
Nancy.
okay.
And our team is here as well.
Thank you very much. Ken, I just want to congratulate you again for a thorough packet and the drawings, the renderings, everything. It looked very nice, and I'm sure people will be very excited on the north end to have their 7-Eleven back.
We are excited to have another one at that
Yeah.
end of the town.
Sarah,
Is there any benefit in showing the renderings so that the
that would be
audience
a
may
good
see?
idea.
Okay.
So just pull those up.
Sure.
So this is just for the public. This is the 7-Eleven at the north end across from Lynn Hall Park.
So these are architectural elevations, very similar, obviously, to the prior two that you've seen. Your classic dumpster enclosure. But this is the rendering for this location at the corner of Lagoon and Estero from the
The
Estero view.
landscaping looks nice. Everything looks nice about it.
And then this is looking at the intersection or the corner of Lagoon to the right and Estero to your left. Again, with the configuration, we did have to orient the dumpster, but the potential there is also for some decorative wall element or something to that effect as we move forward. So very appropriate, and I think they're very excited because this is a very utilized location
sure, for sure.
for the 7-Eleven. So
Yes, I said the north end, but for every visitor who comes to Times Square.
Yes.
It's- yeah.
Times Square plus the park
Absolutely.
across the street, very convenient for those visitors. Anything else?
Not for me. Anything, Doug? Any particular issue you might want to raise with Ken?
I don't have any issues, but I'd like to, all three of these projects, 7-Eleven projects, we've looked at it. The new facility is much improved over the previous facility
Yes.
in terms of
It
aesthetics.
is.
And these will continue
So
that
forth.
trend.
Yeah. Dawn, any questions for Ken?
Not at all. Just echo what I think Jim just said.
Did you say something? Was there no questions? Okay. Jim, anything?
Just a comment that the parking variance, this location will have much more pedestrian traffic than a lot of them. So I don't see any reason we shouldn't grant the variance on parking.
Well, thank you. We agree.
John, anything?
No, I agree completely.
Thank you very much, Ken. Appreciate it.
I would note
Sarah.
that on this one, the dumpster height is limited to 6 feet. On the previous ones, there was a request by town council to raise it to 8 feet. Do you want to keep it at 6 feet? And then if council requests it at their hearing?
Ken, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think it was 7 feet, 6 inches.
Okay.
6 inches. We would be fine. I don't want to speak for it, but yeah, if we need to go, we would be fine to work with staff to and yourselves to increase that height to be consistent with the prior two.
So should we note that here in a motion that
So it would need to be, noted in the motion, and it would be another deviation request if it was desired.
if it was desired, which clearly it is? Or you know what, Ken? It would be better for you to just take that to the town council, so we have a clean agenda and a clean motion, and then change it for the town council. Don't you agree, Nancy?
Yes, I think that would be preferable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're going to see them, change it for them,
Okay, very good.
since you did it the last time as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay, the staff recommendation is for approval with the conditions. The recommendation is that this meets the deviations as set forth but in section 3485B and C and 3421.6.2 of the LDC. And if I could have a motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Is there any public that wishes to comment on the 7-Eleven case? I apologize for that. Nope, public comment is closed. Now, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve with conditions
As set forth in the
as
application.
set forth in the application.
Okay, is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Second. Oh.
And a second by Don? Okay, there's a motion by Doug and a second by Don. Is there any objection? I'll call a roll call vote on that. Doug?
Approved.
Don?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
And yes, the motion carries unanimously. That was very quick and clean and easy. Thank you, Fred.
I know you have a lot going on.
Thank you very much. It's nice to have one more online. Hey, Fred, I know one question I wanted to ask you. What, Fred, look, I'm calling him Fred again. Oh, Lord.
And too bad I turned around.
You did. You did. You did. Oh, Ken. Golly Moses. I'll never do it.
That's all right.
Ken,
Yes.
when will construction begin?
I would say probably in 9 months.
January. Okay,
Yep.
very good.
Speaking.
Thank you.
Yep.
See you later, Fred. Bye, Brandon. Goodbye, everyone. Okay. Gosh, it'll never change. I'm telling you, once it's in my head. It's a shame. The next case is SEZ 2024-0069 for 830 Estero Boulevard. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions or denying a special exception, SEZ 202-40069, to allow for the replacement and repair of a sun deck, a pool patio, retaining wall, and fence in the environmentally critical EC zoning district for the property located at 830 Estero Boulevard, providing for Scrivener's errors, severability, and an effective date. John, do you have any ex parte in this case?
I do not.
How about you, Jim?
I do not.
How about you, Don?
No.
Doug?
No, ma'am.
Patrick?
None.
Okay. Jason?
Good morning, LPA members.
Good morning.
I'm booming here. Good morning, staff. My name's Jason Smalley. I'm with your Planning and Zoning Department. As was mentioned in the title of the application, this is a request for a special exception to repair and replace certain items listed as a pool deck, sun deck, retaining wall, and a fence in the EC area. The condominium requesting it is located at 830 Estero Boulevard, also known as Edison Beach Condominium. The request is due to damage that was received during Ian, and they're looking to replace what had previously been in the EC area. I would note that the application does make mention of foot washes and showers. Staff could not verify that those existed seaward of that line, and so the request before you does not include the foot washes. The applicant can speak to that, but on the survey, they were all located landward of the EC line. So as has been allowed for, major structures are allowed to come in to request to replace and repair structures that are seaward of the EC. The applicant and the representative are here for any questions, and staff is available for questions that you may have.
Thank you, Jason. Gentlemen, any questions for Jason this morning?
Not for me.
No one? Okay, we'll ask the applicant to come forward.
Did you get this?
Oh, it's a Yaks. It's been so long since I've seen you. How are you? I'm glad to hear it.
Good morning, everyone. Lower this a little bit. Thank you, everyone, for having us. I'm Justin Yax. I'm speaking on behalf of Betty Lou Yax, who is the owner of Edison Beach House. And I'm speaking on her behalf. Larry Yax passed away in 2020. So and unfortunately we had Ian, and we're basically just requesting to rebuild what we had. As Jason mentioned, the foot wash and the showers are landward of the EC line. And I'm happy to take any questions if there's any concerns.
Jason, what the other Jason said was that they could not identify that the foot wash and showers were, is that correct?
So it appears that they're being shown on the plan as landward of the EC, so they're not proposing them to be put back. It was just included as part of the application.
Okay.
So it doesn't appear that they need to request it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just unneeded detail, apparently. So.
Okay. 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 Questions for the applicant, Patrick? How about you, Doug?
No, ma'am.
Jim?
None.
John? I am so happy to see you, Betty Lou, sitting back there, and Jason.
Justin.
Justin.
That's okay.
My
brother.
he has a brother, and I'm just glad to see you. I'm glad to see your place is still standing.
Yeah.
It's a very nice family. Don, you have any questions for Justin?
No questions.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy. I'll open this for public comment. Is there any public comment on the Edison Beach House? None? Thank you very much. Any further questions from the board for the staff or the applicant?
No.
None? May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Thank you, Patrick. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll
Second, Don.
Okay, there's a motion by Patrick and a second by Don. Any discussion on the motion? Patrick, your vote?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And I. Congratulations. We look forward to having it all back up and running. Thank you very much, folks. The next item on the agenda is variance 202-40088 at 614 Estero Boulevard. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving...
Madam Chair,
Oh, wait, I
you
skipped one.
C.
Yes, I see that.
If you want to take them out of order.
Nope,
Okay, go back.
You know what? I was losing it because I was thinking about Larry.
Oh.
I'm sorry. What a lovely person. Okay. SEZ 202-30226, 275-322, 200, and the common element of 192 Estero Boulevard. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions special exception SEZ 202-30226 to allow reconstruction of a pool deck, cabanas, fence, irrigation system, and cheeky huts in the environmentally critical EC zoning district, with conditions for the property located at 275, 322, 200, and the common element of 192 Estero Boulevard, providing for Scrivener's errors, severability, and an effective date. Are there ex parte communications? John?
None.
How about you, Jim?
None.
Doug?
No, ma'am.
And Patrick? None. Okay.
None for
Don?
me either.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a group effort today. Sarah?
Good morning. Sarah Probst with Community Development. Jabo LLC and Captiva Villas Development LLC, owners of Pink Shell Resort, located at 275/322 Estero Boulevard, 200 Estero Boulevard, and the common element of 192 Estero Boulevard, has applied for a special exception to allow the replacement or repair of accessory structures that were in the environmentally critical zoning district prior to Hurricane Ian. These structures include a pool, paver pool deck, pool fence, 6 chickee huts plus 2 chickee huts with utilities and landscaping and irrigation. The applicant is requesting this special exception through the ordinance amendment to section 34-652E that allows reconstruction or renewal of primary structures and major accessory structures partially or fully within the EC zoning district, environmentally critical EC zoning district, with the approval of a special exception. The EC zoning district is the land seaward of the 1978 coastal construction control line. The resort appears to have been built after the implementation of the 1976 coastal construction control line. However, the amenities may have been in place prior to the buildings. The applicants are not proposing any additional development in the EC beyond what was in existence prior to Hurricane Ian. Staff notes that the lawn will likely require additional chemical applications, which is of concern in the EC zoning district, however allowable if you approve it through a special exception. Staff has received several letters of support from the adjacent property owners. At your next hearing, you will be reviewing a request to vacate and relocate the beach access easement. The applicant has coordinated that with staff. There was simply an error in the processing. Otherwise, it would have been before you today. Staff is available for any questions you may have, and the applicant is also here.
Thank you, Sarah. Did we not receive some letters that were also not in support of this? I believe recently, 1 or 2.
I believe of late I've only received letters of support.
There was
No,
one
there
that
was
was
letters.
forwarded to us yesterday.
Okay, then I may not have.
But that was a change of position. That was somebody who opposed, and then
No, there was another.
No, there was another one.
another one on the front.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, just so it's on the record. Okay, thank you very much, Sarah. Questions for Sarah? Don?
Yeah, the only question is, I was trying to figure out you said the additional turf or the additional grass area. I mean, they're adding, because you said there would be additional chemicals needed for the grass. So they're adding grassy area. Was it sand before or impervious or what?
So it appears that there was a lawn area there before, and they're asking to put that back. Potentially increasing the lawn area a little bit. The applicant can speak more to that. I spoke with the environmental person this morning, and he I talked with him about the grass, like what that would require in that area, and he said essentially like it would require irrigation. It would not grow without the irrigation, and that in order to maintain that monoculture, it would likely require additional chemicals and pesticides. So I did want to mention that there is a concern there. However, they can have it if it's approved through the special exception.
Good. Okay. And just a question, I guess, can we require low maintenance turf like zoysia grass or something? Because St. Augustine grass is much less drought tolerant, needs more irrigation, needs more chemicals. Where if you go to a zoysia or something, there's a lot less irrigation, a lot less chemical requirements.
So the environmentalist recommended a seahorse paspalum, which is a native grass, so it would meet the native grass requirement, but it would still require additional maintenance. It does not just grow in a monoculture in that environment very well. I also wanted to note that we may want to consider, this was not included in the ordinance, or resolution rather, but you may want to consider a condition regarding removing the chickee huts and in case of a storm. We may want to say in case of a named storm, but it could be impacted by unnamed storms also. All the chickee huts are proposed or landward of the new dune that will be vegetated. However, especially the chickee huts that are further down, they do have utilities to them and should be required to have quick release and a plan for removal.
I'm curious, Sarah, why didn't you include that in your... It sounds like a great idea. Why didn't you include it?
There was a lot of back and forth with the environmentalist and trying to get clarification from DEP that we've not been able to get. So.
Got it. Okay.
So that would be a pretty massive effort to move chickee heads.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
I think the biggest concern would be the ones with the utilities, because with water, sewer, and electric, we want to ensure
Right.
that those structures won't break off. You know, if there was damage to the chickies, it could cause those utilities to break, and then, you know, we would have,
A bigger problem.
yes, exactly.
Is it only the
Or
two?
we could, I mean, just as a suggestion, we could also require them to have shut-offs at the, you know, at the building location, and then, you know, as long as those are shut off, they would, even if it broke, it wouldn't cause a problem.
I couldn't speak to whether that would be adequate or not, but potentially.
Don probably can. Okay.
Yeah,
Any
again,
other questions for, yes, Doug, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I'm not sure I'm really clear on how much we're looking at was there before Hurricane Ian. I frankly have a kind of a huge issue with the lawn being on the seaward side of the coastal control construction line. That just seems not well thought out, because I think keep maintaining that lawn is going to be quite difficult. But then also, were these cheeky tiki huts with amenities and services there before the hurricane?
It appears that all of them were there. They have shown up in different plans and approvals over the years. So I guess I should clarify. It appears that 6 of them are actual chicky huts, because chicky huts don't technically have any utilities associated with them. And then the 2 that are closest to the water, I'm not sure what those are called, maybe tiki huts.
So the 2
but
closest to the water are the 2 that have the water,
Service.
sewer, and electrical.
yes, but they are behind the proposed berm and dune and vegetation.
But they are seaward of the coastal control.
They're
construction.
seaward of the CCCL, but they're landward of the new dune.
Dune
Yep.
system. And I have to say, I'm kind of hung up on those 2 seaward tiki huts and this lawn area that I'm not, that wasn't there before the hurricane, I don't think. That lawn.
The applicant has stated that it was. I don't know what the difference in the landscaping is in that area. They may be able to speak to that more succinctly than I can.
I think that, yeah, I'd like to hear from them.
Okay. Any other questions for Sarah?
Yes, Sarah, on the lawn area, it extends into the public 5-foot easement there. So how do we distinguish where the easement ends and where the public is encouraged to have beach access?
It looks like, so the beach access, so there is a beach access that is actually on the Vacation Villas property. So the property right to the north of that, that will remain, and the proposed landscaping won't impact that.
But it will be lawn area. The easement is on both sides of the property line.
Okay, yeah, then it might be good for Sarah to explain, because I thought that the existing beach access 43 was completely on Vacation Villas, but Sarah can speak to that.
Okay. On the vacation and the relocation of the easement, there was an error in the publication.
Yes, there was an error in timing.
So as a condition of this today, should we make a condition that the approval is based on the vacation and relocation of the easement? Because
Yes.
it's not before us today.
You can approve that as a condition. Another option would be that I'm planning to bring the vacation back to you at your next LPA hearing, and then we'll take both of them together to the town council. That way, both of them will be presented to town council as a cohesive
But they're not,
package.
if we don't
They're
tie them
at-
together, they're not tied together.
No, at this time, they're not. So that would be an option to add that as a condition.
Now, the two tikis at our seaward, in the staff report, they were termed movable.
Yes, they have stated that they are.
Because that goes to Doug's question, is
They've stated that they are movable, but the intent is not to move them on a regular basis. But that may also be a question that Sarah can more adequately answer. Because I'm not clear. I mean, there are fairly substantial structures, so I'm not sure on how exactly.
movable are they?
Yeah.
Mumble there. John, any questions for Sarah?
No.
Okay. Anything else for Sarah before we move on to the applicant? All right, thank you. Ms. Spector?
Madam Chair, we also need to ask Sarah, there was disclosures made of correspondence that was received. Do you have any questions that you want to ask about those?
It was not forwarded to us, so if we could get copies, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so we'll take care of that while you do your presentation.
Okay, wonderful. Sarah Spector.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm here on behalf of Jabo and Captiva Villas Development. And I do have a presentation for you so that we can go through and answer a few of your questions. And I do have Bill Witrulis here as well. He may supplement some of my answers because he's been living this, so he has all the answers. All right, so this is our request. We are asking for the special exception. I'm not going to go through all of this in great detail, but I do want to show you the pictures we have in here. So this is what we're asking for. You'll see that, does this have a pointer on it? Yes. Oh, but you can't see it on the TV. So the yellow line is the coastal construction line. The green line is where the dune will be. I have the two movable structures that we're talking about are the two that are shown in closest to the green line with red X's through them. It was our understanding until today that we did not need a special exception, and this might have been a misunderstanding on our part, but they're shown on the CPD master concept plan, so we didn't think that they needed to be included in a special exception since they've already been approved through the CPD process. These are the only two structures seaward of the coastal construction line that are shown on the master concept plan. Those are the only two structures seaward of the coastal construction line of the ones that are shown of the tikis and chikis. So the cheeky huts are the ones that are closer to the yellow line with the X's, the black X's through them. And I'll show you a picture so you can see what those look like. They do not have any sort of improvements. It's solely a cheeky hut. But
Are there 8?
there's 6 cheeky huts and 2 movable structures. The movable structures are the only 2 that have the utilities to them. So what we were requesting in the request today included the utilities to those 2 movable structures, just not the movable structures themselves. So that was our understanding, was we just need to include the utilities, and that is what's included in the request. The other thing I'll show you, you'll see that lawn area. The lawn area was previously native vegetation and lawn. There was a large, and again I'll show you, a large area of trees that were damaged by the storm and had to be removed. So our proposal is to replace that area instead of leaving it sand, because it did have pavers and trees there, to put lawn back in its place. So let me show you what we have. This is, I think what I said was a 2017 aerial, and the only significance to that is it shows all the, it's the most recent aerial before the storm that shows all the improvements. And so one thing you can see there, the 2 structures with the white roofs, those are the 2 movable units, yes. And then there's 4 cheeky huts, which I'll get to in a minute, but you'll see the 4 cheeky huts with the brown roof. We're actually asking for 6, and like I said, I'll get to that in one second. So this is showing you that what was there before mirrors what we're asking for. You can see the fence line matches identically. The grass is shown there. It's more trees than grass, but it is shown in that location. Is it helpful for me to go up to the screen and show you, since this doesn't, to point things out?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Because you just said this shows what was there is what you're asking for, but isn't this long
Yes.
what you're asking?
No, that line is the coastal construction line.
This one,
Well, that one, but it then goes, and that,
but this wasn't.
it's right where you're, to the left of your finger. Yep, all of that. Yes. And then if you go a little further, you'll see it was all vegetation. It wasn't sand. Yes.
But this looks like this piece of green in here.
Jacob, are you picking this up on audio? Yes, okay, good.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Looking at the drawing here, it appears that this row of vases and umbrellas was previous, but these areas here were not. They were not developed before. This was all green. And down here, there was a few, looks like 4 large umbrellas with maybe twice as many chaises, and now it's completely built out into the same footprint of this retaining wall.
It's my understanding that things such as patio furniture and umbrellas don't require special exception because they're movable and removable.
I guess
So we're
what I'm
only
saying,
asking for the
this
fence.
was vegetation before, and it's not now.
If I may, the state, all you're asking for more, because you didn't have this all. Not to mention this lawn was this native plant area.
Well, the native plants were damaged by the storm, so
That's it. But you could put back. You don't have to put that on.
can I go through the rest of the presentation just to show you what it looked
ahead,
like
Sarah.
before and what we're proposing? Okay. So we did have questions about the number of cheeky huts, the use of the lawn, and I do want to touch on the beach access, even though our plans have changed since we were before you the last time. But it is the plan that's before the town now. So this shows you the cheeky huts. There were originally 6. We show you the historical documentation that shows the 6. There was a settlement agreement with Beach Villas, which is to the south of us, where they did not want any of the cheeky huts in front of their building. The building is just to the north. Well, yes, it is to the south of the main building. So what we're asking for is to put the 6 back that have historically been there before the settlement agreement and shift them to the north so they're not in front of Beach Villas. And Beach Villas did not have any concerns with that to our understanding. This is the picture I wanted to show you what the cheeky huts look like. Here you can see it's just basically a cover. So anyone that wants to enjoy the beach and have a cover over them, it's basically a nicer cabana area on the beach so that they have cover while they're enjoying the beach. But there are no utilities or other improvements within the cheeky hut. This is the area that was there previously. You could see there was lawn there. These are the trees and pavers that were in that location. We're just asking to not put the trees back, but instead replace it with lawn. And there was a concern the last time, so I just figured I would cover it this time. Our neighbor to the north, Vacation Villas, had concern about the use of that area because now it is lawn instead of trees. But this is a depiction of what took place there prior to the storm when the trees were there. It was used heavily for different types of ceremonies such as weddings. Then you can see here, people are using that area regardless of what's in that location. You've got people putting the tents on sand, on the pavers, a floating deck, and then also enjoying the lawn and pavered area. So the point in this is, regardless of what goes there, these things are still going to take place. We would just like to provide a nicer location for them to have that without having to put a floating deck or being in the sand. So that's the purpose of that request, but it's in line with what was there before. The last thing we wanted to touch on is the beach access. Right now, I've outlined them in red. They're a little hard to see up there, but there are 3 beach access points that serve the Pink Shell property, and they're outlined in red. What we're talking about is the one that's in the middle, the short one, just to the right of, I'm sorry, to the left of where it says 800. Yes. Yes. So what we're asking for is to relocate that. Right now, that goes through a pool deck where we would like to fence it off so that our guests are safe and secure within the pool deck. And what we would like to do is move it to the middle of the resort where you see the green arrow, because that's where we have the highest concentration of staff, and they will be able to direct those using the beach access to the beach through underneath the building and through the pool deck. The reason why this is a much better location is where you see it touching Estero Boulevard, there is a trolley stop there. And other public benefits include, under the building there are public restrooms, or restrooms that will be open to the public, and also other amenities such as food and drink that can be purchased there by the public. So we thought this was a better location. We originally had suggested that we would combine it with the beach access to the north, but that did come with some, our neighbors were not as happy with that. We understand now, moving this to the center of the property, that there is no concern, at least until this morning I was of that understanding, so I hope that's still the case. The rest of this is just going through the special exception criteria. I'm more than happy to do that. It's in the application, which I would ask be submitted to the record. And if you'd like, I can go through this or answer any questions that you may have.
Let's see what kind of questions we have.
Okay.
Don, do you have questions for Ms. Spector?
No, nothing further.
Patrick?
Mr. Bone brought up the fact that on the north side, the access is a shared access, basically. It's on partly on the
Yes.
subject property, partly off of it. I'm looking at the survey, that's the case. Can you address that, what's been discussed with the neighbors and how that's getting worked out? Plus, we had concerns last time from the neighbors for the use of the lawn. If you can talk about discussions you've had, how things have been resolved, where things stand.
Sure. The one thing I did forget to mention to Mr. Bone's point is that will be pulled back. So the lawn will not go all the way to the property line. We will pull it back because there is 6 feet that is on the Pink Shell property that is dedicated to beach access. So that is one thing that we will be doing. And Bill's had the conversations with the neighbors, so I'll ask that he share that with you.
What I see on your survey, it says 3 feet on your property, 3 feet next, so total of 6.
I'm sorry, yes. It was going to be 12. when we
Okay.
were- So yes, I'm sorry, total 6.
For the record, Bill White-Willis, President, Pink Shell Beach Resort and Marina. That lawn, it on that drawing, it's like 25 feet shorter because it's the beach access, and then also we bring our vehicles out through there, so we wouldn't be driving it over the lawn. Our tractor for grading the beach, the Kubotas, all the permitted vehicles that we have to bring out on the beach for the operations comes through that section there. I've met with the board at Vacation Villas and discussed a vegetation barrier that we will put in and provide. I met with Chad to make sure that the plants that are put in there that are compliant native plants, cocoa plum, sables, the in front of the grass is, our plan is to put the dune vegetation, the same vegetation that's going on the dune out on the beach, in front of the grass also. So there'll literally be 2 dunes before you got to the lawn area. As Sarah mentioned before, that area is very popular with us doing weddings and on the lawn that we had there before. I have many brides watching this presentation right now, waiting to have their weddings with us right now and determining if
Oh,
they're...
Bill, way to throw in
So-
the sentimental
So please,
note. You will just ruin their lives.
yes. But we've worked with Vacation Villas as to put a vegetation barrier in there between us and them.
Doug, do you have questions for Bill about that buffer?
Well, that makes it better. I mean, I like to hear that, but I don't see that on any plan, so I guess I got to take your word for it that you're going to do that.
You could make that, I mean, if you wanted to make that as part of your condition, that's not an issue with us at all. I literally just received yesterday the plan from RVI, our landscape architect, detailing all the plants out. So it's a requirement that we have for a LDO. So we would be providing it then, but we have no issues with native plants. We lost a couple of the palms in there, which I can't believe. Coconut palms are not allowed, but so royals are a native, so we would be putting royals back in place of those coconut palms that we lost.
I mean, I think you'd want some palm trees or something to break
Yes, we do. Yeah.
venue.
Yes. There was a question earlier about the pool deck area. That the pool deck wise is exactly the same. That plan that you're seeing above doesn't include the kind of, there's a vegetation barrier in there that we've got. It's the landscape. It's not all pavers, so if you can imagine that there's a vegetation in there on that deck. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as enjoyable. It's just not depicted on that plan. But the deck-wise is exactly the same. It's the same footprint.
John, that was a point you brought up. Did you have a follow-up question for Bill on that?
Well, it's a similar concern is that it's just not shown, right? It looks like what was native landscaping is now developed. If it's going to be landscape, that's great, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, there was Collusias on that deck before. We've got it's all planted, but I mean, again, we could provide a landscape design if the council would request. That's not an issue.
Sarah, how could you craft an additional condition that would satisfy the concerns of Doug and Jim? Not to put you on a spot, but think about that as we keep going. Okay.
Is that regarding the landscaping in general, the pool deck landscaping, the lawn landscaping, which portion?
I
Yes.
think it's all of it.
Yes and yes.
I mean, we could just have a general condition upon approval of a landscape plan without specifying what part of it.
Yeah. Okay. Doug, you said you had another question?
I think these two that are being rebuilt, does that really meet the criteria of a minor structure? So I think if you're putting the tiki hut there, well, no problem.
We allow major structure. But we have that's what we changed. That's what the folks before them were asking for, a change to a minor accessory, major accessory structure.
Yeah, tiki process. Because once you have water and sewer on electric, and heat.
Patrick?
But if it's allowed,
The utilities are existing. We haven't replaced them. They're still there.
Still there.
So we're not asking to replace or they're all there.
well, I thought you just said you were asking to replace the utilities.
No.
Oh, approved.
Don?
Are the utilities, is it water, sewer? I mean, is it just electric?
I thought I heard
So
water,
the-
sewer, and
the-
electric.
The one hut on the left, well, my left, is a beach bar. It's approved by the state. DEP has no issues with it. We've had calls with them. It's been there for since
long
I've been
time.
there. A long time. We have a liquor license that extends all the way to the water. I know it's unusual, but it's come up many times in with the town. But it's a vested right that we have. The other hut is a nature center. We educate we educate the guests on the turtles, garbage. There's displays. There's shark's teeth. It's a whole nature center, and that we do as education. But there is power and water to that hut. There's all three utilities to the other one.
So power, water to one, and to the bar, power, water, sewer.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Don, additional questions?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Jim?
Well, I know you haven't seen it, but the objection letter that we received yesterday, do you want to try and address any of their
So Sarah, we did
Concerns?
forward them to you, so you may have them in your emails.
You didn't see it either, Sarah? Could you forward it to our
This is the one
Sarah?
I sent, yeah. It came yesterday at 3:21.
I may have thought of one that I sent you.
Can you go ahead and describe who it's from?
It's a letter from Catherine Schultz. And let's see it. The subject is objection to SEZ 2023-0226. Do you want me to just read the letter for?
Sure, go ahead.
I mean, it's really long,
no, don't.
but I mean, I can read it.
No, that's okay. Let's just have Sarah and Bill
Did you?
see if they want to respond to any of it.
One of the issues that they're addressing is beach access 42,
Yes.
right?
and that we've addressed by not moving it over to them. That's the one that's going through the middle of the resort.
Sarah, if you could just pull that mic down just a little bit.
I never
Thank
know
you.
if I'm allowed to touch it.
Yep.
You can touch whatever you want here.
In addition, I mean, my conversations with the board from that association, the fact that we're not combining it there, they're in support of us moving it, so
Okay.
there was no concern.
There's really 3 bullet points there in the mid part of the letter.
About the new development being approved.
Well, they first one has to deal with the lawn area.
The lawn area, the beach access, and what was the third?
A number of tikis increased. My only comment was, in the second one, there's a statement that you've received a DEP warning regarding the beach bar and the nature center and how that was addressed.
Yeah, we received a letter from DEP requesting us to have a meeting with them. I had a meeting with them, and they had no issues after the meeting.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Anything else you'd like to address from that letter, Sarah?
I think we've addressed it.
Okay, very good. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
We'll call you back if we need you. I'll open the public comment. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in public comment for this application? There's no public today, no? All right, we'll close the public comment. Gentlemen, any questions for staff or the applicant as follow-ups?
One,
Go ahead, Don.
just for Sarah, if she knows, is there any other huts on the beach or structures on the beach anywhere on the island that include all those utilities? Besides that, just curious.
I am very unsure of that. I actually wouldn't have been able to tell you that those huts had utilities. So I couldn't tell you. Actually, longtime beach residents may be more likely to know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm aware of at least, one chickee hut that had power before the storm, and I think there were, 4 or 5, like a light or something like that, or a plug, but for the most part, they were either right at the coastal construction line or, or just over it. These are obviously quite a ways.
Don, are you objecting to the utilities at that location?
Well, I would object to utilities out in the middle of the beach. I would, but I'm struggling because these were here before the storm, right? So,
Yeah.
and I understand this is a business, and it's a resort, and certainly the education center is great. Not sure why education center would need all those utilities. I mean, I understand somewhat power, but not the other things. But just makes me nervous having utilities that far from the core structures where they originate.
Bill, can you come back up for a second? I've got a question for you. So do those structures, I don't remember who it was, I mentioned, have shut-off valves?
Yeah, there's emergency shutoffs for all the utilities. So if we had to go under an evacuation, we shut them down and we can remove those 2 structures.
Does that
They're
help?
on skids.
Does that help, Don?
They're not on the ground. The 6 cheeky huts will be pilings in the into the beach. Those are already approved by DEP. They're structures. The other 2 are removable.
Will you remove them?
Yeah, if we were under evacuation, we would remove them. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, please.
2 things. One, were they removed for Ian? First question.
One of them was. The other one did not. We had one of them removed. Unfortunately, even removing them didn't matter. And with Ian, because we had them in the parking lot, they're gone.
Okay, and then the second question is, are the shutoffs, I understand you have shutoffs at the location for obvious reasons, but are there additional shutoffs at the building structure for those utilities? I'm just thinking you can shut them off at the structure and move it away, but with erosion and, all the things that happen in a storm, it seems like
there's shutoffs on both sides. So landward side of the EC and then also at the structure.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bill,
Thank you.
very much.
Thank
Okay.
you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions for staff or follow-up to the applicant?
Can we ask for a landscape plan to be part of
The
something?
landscape plan gets submitted with their development order. Is that
Oh,
not
okay.
correct, Sarah?
All right.
Yes, that
What
is
you-
correct.
What you can do, and I think that the applicant testified saying that they have worked with staff to have native landscaping. I suppose you could add that somewhere if you, go ahead, Patrick.
Well, I think we can add it as a condition where it's going to be part of their development order for sure, but before it gets to council, it could be part of the packet, so council could actually see that
Good
what
idea.
they committed to is actually on the plan. So I think, they committed to addressing some of the concerns that were brought up, that the deck area would be landscape, but the deck area remains the same. I think there was issue of providing shielding, so in my mind, that's a buffer to the adjacent property where the lawn is. So I think that would be shown on there, and that will bring comfort to the neighbors next door. And I think also the other concern was using native species, and that would be depicted in the plan. So when they get the hearing, it'll be on paper, everybody will see that they're meeting their commitments.
Yeah, I think that would be, if we could ask for that, I think that would be good.
Patrick, could you make a motion?
I'll make a, a motion for approval with staff recommendations and also a requirement to provide a landscape plan for the council hearing that would include addressing native vegetation, buffering to the northern property, and also landscaping around the pool deck.
And access
It was
easement?
also
Are we
mentioned,
not saying?
he also mentioned landscaping buffer or dune, like smaller set of dunes,
And I would include that,
on the
also the
seaside.
dune plantings, that's secondary to the overall beach dune plantings.
Hold on, let's see. Dawn, did you have something you wanted Patrick to add?
Yeah, are we also tying this to the next hearing discussion of the access easement? Are we not tying them together?
Well, access easement, since it wasn't ready for today, I don't think we can actually address it as part.
You could condition approval on approval of the access easement. That way it doesn't move forward until it's...
Yeah.
Can I also
That was my
recommend requiring some sort of a plan regarding
For
shut-off
evacuation.
and evacuation?
I'll amend my motion to add these two friendly
evacuation
additions.
plan?
Evacuation and also the
Contingent upon
tying the
approval.
contingency of approval upon obtaining the easement relocation.
Okay. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Are you clear on the motion? Is everyone clear and satisfied?
Yes.
Very good. Patrick, your vote?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, folks. Good work with your neighbors, Bill.
Who seconded that?
Jim did. The next item is variance 2024008 at 614 Estero Boulevard. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions, or denying VAR 202-40088. It's a request for two variances from the Land Development Code Table 34-3 to decrease the required street setback by 17 feet 6 inches from the required 25 feet, to reduce the rear setback by 12 feet 1 inch from the required 20 feet in the RM zoning district for the property located at 614 Estero Boulevard, and providing for an effective date. Any ex parte, Patrick?
None.
Don?
No ex parte.
Doug?
No, ma'am.
Jim?
None.
John?
None.
And I have none. Sarah?
Good morning, Sarah Probst with Community Development. The applicant for 614 Estero is requesting a variance of 17.5 feet from the required 25-foot setback on the front of the property, and a variance of 12 feet 1 inch from the required rear setback of 20 feet. These variances will result in a front setback of 7 feet 6 inches and a rear setback of 7 feet and 11 inches. This property is zoned RM and is one of the non-conforming cottage lots that is accessible by a 15-foot easement with 7.5 feet with a 7.5-foot easement that runs along the side of the subject property. The lot is 60 feet by 50 feet, and the applicant is proposing a single-story home over flood elevation. It is larger than the previous footprint, however, so it does not comply with the administrative variance regulations. The surrounding property owners are similarly sized and situated, and it is anticipated that many of these homes will either choose the administrative variance option or require setback variances. Staff is available to answer any questions, and I believe the applicant is also here.
And Sarah, you recommended approval of the request?
Yes.
Okay. Questions for Sarah on this cottage lot? Hearing none, we'll have the applicant come forward. Good morning.
Morning. My name is Nick Bumeri with Meyer Builders. I'm here on behalf of Larry Black.
Good morning.
Thank you. Yes, we're seeking a decrease in the front and the rear setbacks in order to build something. Without the variance, it would be next to impossible to build anything whatsoever. So we would have a reduction in the rear setback to now a 7'11" setback, and then a front setback of 7'6".
Could you remind, I'm just trying to scroll here to get to this section. Can
Yes,
you
ma'am.
remind me how big the house will be?
1088 square feet, so it'd be 30 by 42.
Okay. Questions for the applicant? Don, anything?
No questions.
Anybody here? Questions?
I guess if, does the proposed setbacks comply with like building code, building and development requirements outside this?
Yes, I did include a condition in here that no part of the house could encroach into the 7.5-foot easement, because that the 7.5-foot setback that they're requesting is where that road goes through, or the access easement goes through. So I want to make sure that no component of the house, it doesn't have shutters that might hang out or anything like that, so that it could block access, because we know that that is
Emergency
sort of a
access.
limited width.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to make comment on this? Hearing none, we close the public hearing. Any other questions from the board for the staff or the applicant? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move we approve the request for 614 Estero Boulevard, including the 3 staff conditions.
Thank you very much, Jim. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you,
Second.
John. So there's a motion to approve, including the conditions of the, in the staff report. There's a second for the motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Jim, your vote?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Patrick?
I
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item, anybody need to take a break, or we keep going? Zippity-doo-dah. Okay, next question, next case, this one was interesting, is the variance 202-40084-6140 Court Street. This is a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, approving with conditions or denying variance VAR 202-400-84, requesting a variance from LDC 34-1174B to allow a pickleball court closer to street than the principal building at the RS zoning district for the property located at 6140 Court Street, providing for clarifications as necessary, providing for conflicts of law, Scrivener's errors, severability, and providing for an effective date. Patrick, ex parte?
none.
How about you, Doug?
No, ma'am.
Jim?
None.
John?
None.
Don?
None.
I have none as well. Jason?
Good morning. Again, for the record, my name is Jason Smalley with your Planning and Zoning Department. As was mentioned in Anita's, English this morning. As was mentioned by Anita, the structure at 6140 Court Street is requesting a variance to develop a pickleball court. The reason
It's
for...
a first. It's a first. I love it.
The reason for the variance is because the structure is being proposed forward of the primary structure. Staff wanted to note that the setbacks, they would be providing at minimum 25-foot street setback. It appears they're going to be providing a bit more than that. The dimensions of, and they will be respecting the side setbacks as are required for all waterfront lots. They will be required to meet the minimum 7.5-foot setbacks. So the structure itself will be within the setback requirements. Again, the necessity for the variance is forward of the structure. The proposed pickleball court is 25 by 45 with an area of approximately 1,125 square feet. The applicant has proposed to produce or to plant buffer materials to help buffer the street and the neighbors from the pickleball court. As part of the redesign of the property, the pickleball court is being proposed after the original design. The house was originally permitted in 2021. It is currently going through finalization to get a CO. Part of the changes here have affected their house build, and so the design will reflect whether or not they can get approval for the pickleball court, specifically their driveway design and their drainage plan. The staff has put three particular conditions have requested three particular conditions. That would be to meet the minimum drainage plan, to meet the neighborhood flooding code, and that the court itself cannot be used for commercial purposes. It's going to be intended for the use of the applicant, the homeowner, the tenants, or their guests, and that any noise violations would fall under the standard noise code for the town. If there are any questions or concerns for staff and our process, we are here. Otherwise, the applicant is here for any questions that you may have for them.
Thank you, Jason. Any questions for Jason?
The exhibit that's attached appears that the pickleball court and the driveway are together. There's no separation at all.
It appears in their drawing, yes, that they are proposing the pickleball court going right up to their new proposed driveway design, at least on the north
Without
side.
a fence or landscaping?
Well, there's the landscaping.
No, but on the drive side?
No landscaping.
Yeah, on the drive side.
No, it's just this one.
So, I mean, that could
Well, so
be
if
used
they-
as surplus parking, right?
Yes, if they didn't want to play pickleball anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah?
that's correct.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
it's contiguous.
It is contiguous. Staff cannot say for a fact that they couldn't alternatively use it for any number of things besides the stated intent of pickleball. But again, they have proposed providing their own buffers as part of the plan. I would also note that fences and lights would be allowed at a maximum of 12 feet in height on the structure if approved, provided that they meet the turtle codes.
But there's no fence included now.
At this point, we haven't discussed whether they will add a fence. They could do that by right if approved for this plan.
As well as lights, as long as they were turtle friendly?
They would be allowed at a max, since they're new light, or they would be considered new lights, they would be allowed at a max of 12 feet high, but they would have to meet all of the requirements of the turtle code. So yes, the lighting wavelength, shielding downward facing, and then ensuring that none of that light bleeds onto either of the properties north or south of them.
Okay.
Dawn, any questions for staff?
No questions.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
We'll ask for the applicant. Oh, come on, pickleballers. This is the most interesting application we've had in a long time.
I've been called order.
Mike Penn for the record, PENN with Potter Homes.
Hello, Mike.
I'm Jerry Kletzik, owner of the property with my wife Laura.
Hello. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Make your case
I
here.
would just say that we have a very unique property here.
Yes, you do.
In general, based on
Yeah.
other properties that I've worked on here on the beach. This is, first of all, it's off of Estero Boulevard, so it's tucked back off to the side. I'm sure you guys are aware of Court Street and where it is. That beautiful long beach in the back. And then, in addition to that, we have a sizable front yard that allows the opportunity to do this, which is fun, potentially. And just as was noted by Jason, just saying that it would be strictly for homeowner use, their own personal recreation. Their children, they have 3 grown children that love pickleball. and they do too. So it's just kind of a fun little thing that they thought, why not? Why not give it a shot? So we are obviously very interested in adhering to all the current rules, regulations, setbacks, light requirements, which I don't think we do lights anyway, but that's unnecessary because we'd be playing after dark. They'd be playing after dark, and nobody wants to do that. So just come before you asking if there are objections. We're happy to answer any sort of question about it.
Thank you, Mr. Penn. Questions for, or would you guys like to say something?
I will, yeah. We've been planning on making this our forever home since before Ian. We were delayed, obviously, for a couple years by Ian and the subsequent construction delays. It's not going to be a rental property, never will be. We're going to be full-time FNB residents. We're happy to finally be completing this home, and we just want to make it the best family environment we can make it. It's not going to be out for rent. It's not going to be extra parking. We're going to play. We're going to stay in shape. We're an athletic family. Well, there's more than me, but we try to be. And we're just trying to make it the best property we can make it. No other motives. We're not going to play at night. It's not going to be a lot of noise. Not going to be crowds. This is our home. And instead of a backyard, we have a front yard because we're on the beach. So.
Well, welcome to Fort Myers Beach. We're
Thank
happy
you.
you're going to be able to finish your home.
We've had a condo for almost 10 years now. So this has been a progress.
Good for you.
So
Good for you.
Yeah, thank
Well,
you.
it was an interesting application. When I came to it, I went, wow, there's a first. There's a first. So thank you.
I will say one more thing, that we are treating these as separate entities. We do have a revision in currently for the new driveway design. And did you say you had the landscape drawing up?
I have one up.
Because the colored sketch that was shown earlier is something I did preliminarily before we had the landscape architect draw it up. So that does show a bit of a buffer around the court itself. It is contiguous, but would be probably, just because of the pervious percentages, we would probably border the court itself with something more pervious rather than the impervious court itself. So it would be contiguous, but it could be used for. I just thought I'd bring that into clarification. And so with the current revision in right now for the driveway, the redesign of the driveway, we're in drainage right now. We got rejection yesterday on the new proposed drainage plan, so we're working on getting that rectified. So we are treating these as separate entities. We currently have a TCO. We were able to move furniture in, and they took ownership of the house a week and a half ago.
Great.
Even without a driveway. But hey, that's how excited they are to be here, for sure. So we will move forward then with the driveway design once we get approval with that, and continue, and then y'all can have your way with the pickleball court as you see fit.
Excellent. Thank you. Patrick, your
I
question?
had a quick question for the applicant. The landscape plan that you showed us looks great. I don't know if it's finalized. Would you object to making it a condition of approval, that it goes along with your variance? And I think that's just good standard practice, that if people come here with a landscape plan or with a plan, that we make it part of the condition of approval, because things can change along the way. And if people say that's what they're going to do, we make them stick to it. So,
No pun intended, we'll play ball.
okay, perfect.
Absolutely fine.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, folks, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. I'll open public comment. Is there anyone here who'd like to comment on the pickleball court? Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions from the board for staff or the applicant? And hearing none, may I have a motion, please, to approve the request before us?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application for the variances. Is that a variance or, yeah, variance? Variances, and with staff's condition and the condition that the landscape plan be included as part of the approval.
Thank you, Patrick. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. It's a motion by Patrick and seconded by Doug. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, your vote, Patrick?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Congratulations, folks. I'd like you to call me when it's finished because I'm dying to see this. Dying to see this. All right. The next item is Ordinance 2410 to specifically rehear the property rights element and to hear the capital improvement element. An ordinance of the Town of Fort Myers Beach, Florida, amending the Town of Fort Myers Beach Comprehensive Plan in its entirety. Pursuant to 163.31843 Florida statutes, providing for adoption of the Town of Fort Myers Beach Comprehensive Plan 2040, including amendments to the future land use element and the future land use map, the community design element, the transportation element, the housing element, the historic preservation element, the utilities element, the conservation element, the coastal management element, the recreation and open space element, the intergovernmental coordination element, the capital improvement element, and the property rights element, inclusive of all associated tables, exhibits, and maps, authorizing findings and administrative actions, providing for transmittal, providing for severability, providing for Scribner's errors, and providing for an effective date. Sarah.
Good morning, Sarah Probst with Community Development. These two, before you have the property rights element and the capital improvement element. Those are being discussed specifically today because of an error in the advertising. I inadvertently left out the advertising for the property rights element and included it, and I did not receive the capital improvement element, but I thought I had, and that was advertised. So I advertised for one that was not in there, and I did not advertise for one that was in there.
We're going to forgive you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Today we just needed to advertise and discuss property rights, capital improvement element.
Thank you very much. Everyone's reviewed this. Does anybody have any comments or questions relative?
Sarah,
Go
excuse
ahead.
me.
No, please, Jim, go ahead.
Sarah, there's a number of comments in here that I think are very appropriate, but we don't have the answer to them. And, you know, for the first one there, pink, compliant, that you've moved over, compliance with what? Is a valid question. So do we have answers to your comments?
I sent these to the consultant, and I thought I had deleted them when I uploaded this. So my apologies for that. Clearly, this was not my best week. With this one, so they deleted criteria and policy 11A4 below. So I would propose, that we change that to be the same number that it's been changed to, so that would be CIE 1A3. So in compliance with the CIP fiscal policies. Does everyone agree with that change to the language? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's maybe back up. With the publication and non-publication that you did, should this be continued till you consolidate that? Or are we okay with the fact that you missed one and you added one you don't have, or?
Yes, no. You guys have to see every element and recommend that on to the town council. Then the town council is going to see them all in full at their next meeting. So that's why I
So we can piecemeal this and you're
Yes.
okay? with
Yes.
that? Okay.
Patrick had a question.
I've got a question and a comment. It's not related to any of the edits that staff has made. However, under the capital improvement program, there is some language stricken about plan versus program.
What page is that, Patrick?
352
Okay.
of the PDF.
Yep.
But one of the things that I don't know how everybody else feels here about this, but I would like to add more specific language to the CIP language here, requesting more details when the CIP comes forward. Under the old regime, if some of you recall, we were given a capital improvement plan with very, very broad categories for expenditures with no detail as to what the actual projects were under those broad categories. And I think at least 3 years in a row, I made it a point to ask for more detail, and we never got the detail. I think we've got a different regime today, and we are seeing that more detailed plan. However, I think we could ask for staff to add description as to what the level of detail is expected in that program. And I think that would just ensure that when we move forward as a town, every year when it comes in front of us, we're not just given very broad categories of landscape improvements.
Yep.
We are actually given the projects and a list of projects and a list of costs and exact locations, that type of thing. So I would make that recommendation, and I don't know how everybody else feels.
I hadn't thought about that, but I would agree, and what you're describing seems to me like, if you will, the standard of care for a typical CIP is based on projects that have been identified,
Yes.
and they change. I get that, but at least you had something in mind when you prepared the CIP that, landscaping, beach accesses, or some specific, not just a broad.
And also,
generalization.
that plan comes to the LPA every year. And I think it just gives us enough detail as an LPA to ask questions and kind of help mold those decisions. And the idea is when we look at an LPA and we review it, we assess if we agree with the priorities of where the money's going to be spent. And if I'm not told exactly where it's going to be spent, how can I do my job? So,
Sarah, how could you
that's-
incorporate, does anybody object to that suggestion? I think it's very good.
No.
How could you incorporate that here?
I don't know. I'd like you to tell me.
Oh,
A detailed line item.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think something about adding something in the paragraph saying that the CIP should include a detailed line item of proposed projects.
Let's see where
Maybe
we can add
project
it. Let's
specific.
look exactly here. Maybe it's a policy under fiscal policies. No. Let's put it under process. The proposed CIP shall be developed by the town manager or reviewed, blah, 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 and the capital needs identified in this comprehensive plan.
Probably under small I, double I.
Yes, the proposed CIP shall be reviewed by the, well, maybe it needs to precipitate that because you want you want the proposed CIP that's reviewed by us to be detailed.
So prepared by the town manager in detail, insufficient to allow adequate review.
So would you put that in I? Nancy?
Yes, that would be my suggestion.
So the proposed CIP shall be developed by the town manager with
In insufficient detail.
insufficient detail? Is that good enough, Patrick? Sufficient detail.
Including
That's subjective.
including a detailed list of proposed projects with exact estimated costs. Something like that.
Did you get that, Sarah? Look, we have our favorite guests in the room, the standbys. Oh yeah, I'm pointing to you all back there.
So we would change it to the proposed CIP shall be developed by the town manager, do we want to say insufficient detail and including a detailed list, or do we just want to say including a detailed list of proposed projects with estimated costs?
Insufficient detail to include a detailed list of proposed projects
And associated costs.
and associated costs.
And usually a CIP has the timeline too, like,
Yes, it does.
it's like, these are, I don't know if you have to say, but, listing projects, costs, and, the time of implementation or
Yeah, because it's
by year. It's a 5-year plan.
you can move those projects up and down the 5-year.
Okay. Are there any other comments or suggestions to add to these elements?
I have,
Well, if we could go through the staff comments on page 353. Sarah's question is, does this table still
Yeah,
exist?
does this
Does
table
it?
still?
One moment.
Does this table still exist?
so that's basically your capital improvement plan we're discussing.
Yes, we do not at this time have a capital improvement plan. I spoke with Joe regarding this. This is in the works, but we don't currently have it. We may want to keep this in here to reference that it should be part of it,
Yes,
but we don't have it at this time.
yes.
So we should forget it. We don't know if it'll be a table, but we should make it so that it is included.
Maybe we can just generally say the capital improvement plan shall be included.
I think the answer to your question, Jim, is yes. And we should include it.
I agree.
So do we want to say,
I guess the struggle is because it doesn't exist at this time, right?
Yes.
So maybe we say the capital improvement plan presents the 5-year schedule of capital improvements to be. It doesn't say table, but it does say what the plan would have.
Yeah. Capital improvement plan's typically in the form of a table.
Present the 5-year schedule.
Okay. Did you
That
get that,
works.
Sarah?
yes.
Good.
I've got a question. This is a sort of a technicality on page 354, the item regarding a sanitary sewer service.
Can you refer to the policy number for me?
Yeah, it's policy CIE 1-B-1. Item 2A.
Okay.
I think it would be, that's sort of an incorrect statement. The 200 gallons per day per capita per equivalent residential connection. It might be, is it possible to say something like shall follow Lee County utility standards or something like that? Because they have a more complete, their standard is 250 gallons per day per ERC.
I contacted them and asked them for this specifically. Like, I called them on the phone, and this is what they told me.
That's what they told me?
Yeah.
It's not, I can send you what Lee County's standards are if you want. But it's incorrect because an ERC and a per capita are incompatible statements. You could say 100 gallons per day per person, or you could say 250 gallons per day per ERC. But you can't, they're different things.
It's his area.
It's just something I happen to know about.
I had to do the
I agree with Doug.
so I'm not sure
It's
what
one or
this
the
should
other.
say. So anybody who's an
Well,
expert in this,
I
please tell me,
think
because I'm
if
not
the
sure.
town of Fort Myers Beach followed Lee County Utilities standards for wastewater service,
So do
it'd
we
be
want to say
fine.
that instead?
Yeah, because
Okay.
That's what I would do.
because our wastewater service is provided by Lee County anyways.
Yeah, that's what Don's agreeing with that.
Okay.
Two experts.
Yep.
So we would, if you were doing a development here, you'd have to meet Lee County standards anyhow, because they're providing the wastewater service.
Thank you, Doug.
So why don't
How
we
do we
just
want to say that?
I'd say for sanitary sewer service, compatible with Lee County Utilities standards. Current, if you want to say current standard. Compatible with Lee County Utility, current standard.
Yeah, I would just say with Lee County standards. That way it's at any given time.
Lee County's fine. Because the town doesn't even do wastewater,
Right.
nor should they.
Okay. Thank you.
And then can we, the next comment down about the stormwater element, can we address that?
Didn't we have a stormwater management element in the comprehensive?
We have a
plan?
stormwater management plan.
I don't know, I don't think it's an element. I wouldn't
Okay.
want it. That's part of the
Yeah, and that's what I had asked the consultant, and they said that they moved all of the components into this, so they ensured that we had everything that we needed.
So this is
that-
being eliminated?
Yeah, so there isn't a need for
Okay.
a specific element. I just
Okay.
wasn't sure because it was referenced, so
Yep.
I was unclear.
Okay. Everyone clear on that?
No.
No?
What are we saying? We're saying that, do we have a stormwater management element as part of the comp plan? Or are we just saying that we are have a stormwater management plan, which is outside?
That's what I think we're saying. Is that not correct, Sarah?
That is my understanding. Let me double check real quick.
Is it like we're saying the comprehensive plan states that we shall have a
Yeah, because now it
stormwater master plan?
says until completion of the evaluation under stormwater management element. That would be we want to focus. And just, from for the public's edification here, stormwater element is not a required element for master plans. And while sometimes it makes sense to add elements that are not required by the state, most of the time, stick to what the state requirements are. It's a little easier to maneuver if you do want to make changes in the future.
So we did previously have a stormwater management plan. I don't think that it necessarily makes any sense because
Element.
No, I mean, we had an element. Yeah, we did actually have an element. But it does not really make sense for us to have an element, and it's not a required element. So the consultant actually moved everything out of here that they thought was necessary. We're still required to meet the state regulations, and that's what we'll continue to do. The town doesn't necessarily have anything. A lot of the things that were in here were not really in line with what's currently required. And that's part of the problem with this, is when we come up with different requirements, they don't line up with what we're actually required to do by the state. And the state is the one who enforces this.
Okay.
So do we even need, are you
So
recommending
we do not need a stormwater. We do not need a stormwater element. We did previously have a stormwater element, and we have all the components that are necessary in order for us to get through the state process.
So in this particular section,
Mm-hmm.
are we deleting it, or are we leaving it as you have it with line throughs and whatnot?
Let me get back to my... I think it's fine if we were to have a stormwater master plan. I don't know if we currently have one. I don't think that we should refer to the stormwater management element. I don't think it's problematic to have some level of service referenced in here, though.
we should
Yes,
have a
the-
policy, even in the policy statement, even if it just says, we're going to follow state standard.
Yeah.
Does the state standards, I mean, what part of what you have here is your sort of your goals for level of service.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that should be in the comprehensive plan, or does it not need to be?
I see a lot of communities that do establish a policy or a goal when it comes to stormwater,
Mhm.
but it's not a whole separate element, just like a housing element or
Yeah, well,
future
yeah,
land
I
use
see what you're
element.
saying. yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I just want to get the terminology correct. And I think we should have a plan as a town for stormwater,
Yeah.
but let's get the right terminology, that's all.
And I am under the impression that we are working on a stormwater management plan. That's our, the different ranked roads that are they're going to be doing stormwater management for those. So we are working on one. I'm not sure if it's complete at this time, but I think that it would be okay to reference that and to have level of service standards.
Okay.
So are you suggesting we strike the word element and put plan?
I think that works, yeah.
Nancy's saying yes, yeah. Okay. Good.
Thank you all for working through this with me.
You're welcome, Sarah. Thank you. Anything on the recreation, CIE 1B3?
I would note that what it previously said is that there are standards for community parks for each 7,500 permanent residents. And I think that our visitors also use our beaches and parks. I don't know if the language I inserted there makes sense for you. So this is policy CIE 1B3. But I included the town adopts the following standards for community parks for each 7,500 permanent residents. And then I added or visitors staying at hotels, motels, and resorts on the island.
Could you just leave all of that off and say that there's just the town adopts the following standards for community parks, period? And
well, this ensures that we're actually asking for things when somebody comes in with a large development.
Okay.
So this is how we figure out if we're in line with what our comprehensive plan says.
Okay.
Yeah, you could say permanent or transient residents to simplify it, but the point is 7,500 people.
Yeah. I like
And
the way
whether
you
they're
have it, Sarah.
resident or transient doesn't matter.
So do we prefer it to say transient, or do we want to say or visitors staying at hotels, motels, and resorts? Because part of with transient, I was thinking that people just come onto the island. They are transient.
That's right.
They're not staying on the island, but they come and visit. But there would be no way for us to account for them.
I see, yeah.
How do you apply this? Is it based on the number of hotel rooms or occupancy rates or?
Yeah, so that would essentially be what it is. If somebody is proposing a hotel, this is how we ensure that adequate money is given to parks, to transportation, this is how we determine what our expectation for service is in the community. So we would have to set up a fee schedule based on, impacts to those facilities.
Okay. I like the wording you have here personally.
Okay, I'm okay with it.
Good. Patrick?
Okay, looking at the next policy,
Transportation.
It's more of a question because I don't want to get into transportation debate here, but it talks specifically about Estero. Estero is a county facility, and it's also identified as constrained roadway. Does this policy, is it meaningful in any way? I don't think it is.
Yeah, because Estero
We have no
Boulevard's
authority.
Lee County.
We can't regulate that.
Yeah, we can't, there's no way we can regulate or control that.
I don't, even if it, I think that we could say that we had a level of service standard if there was anything we could do about it. I don't know that there truly is. And I don't know how we would
You don't
limit
have any
this.
jurisdiction.
I think maybe it becomes a council policy decision
Yeah.
because it is political. I get it. But I think maybe the town needs to talk to Lee County and get advice from a transportation expert. But to me, I don't even see the need to have that policy whatsoever. And again, it addresses Estero. If it was, for other roadways other than Estero, that'd be different, but simply addresses a roadway where we have no jurisdiction. So maybe council can look at it, maybe by the time this goes to council, there could be a note or someone can have looked into this and talked to Lee County.
But we're looking at this as a result of a financial impact, correct?
No.
It's kind of, it's part of our decision-making policies. So if someone were to propose, for example, a comprehensive plan amendment, so if they were to propose a future land use district that had higher density, we would look at this and determine if this has an impact. The problem is we don't have a way to resolve it.
So we
Correct.
can't change the standard, but in your evaluation of any projects that come through, you look at what the standard is from Lee County, and you measure and make comments based on that. Is that how it works?
I mean, honestly, I feel like this LOS is a moot point because it isn't Lee County's standard, it's our standard, but it's not our road.
No, but that's, my question is, if we're analyzing a project that comes in, and it has an impact on Estero, we have no jurisdiction on Estero, but if we say that it has an impact, can we collect a financial contribution, even though it's not our road, for use other places for transportation needs?
I believe we can.
So therefore, if that's the goal,
We would have to have a nexus, though.
Yeah.
Do we collect currently an impact fee for, I don't think we do.
We should.
But we
That
don't.
is,
I
that
would agree with
I don't
you.
know if we do.
Okay.
But I know we do have funds from impact fees, so at some point we have to.
But I think, notwithstanding impact fees, I think Jim's comment is a valid one. So if someone comes in and at some point, if we decide to have a shuttle to the airport, for example, and you can create that nexus and demonstrate that we have congestion, this will alleviate congestion, so it is beneficial, it is improving the condition, then that's your nexus, and you could impose some kind of a fee. So I think that's a good point, Jim. I think
Whether
we
it's
wanna
water
keep-
taxi, shuttle,
whatever that may
bike
be,
path. yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. Turn lanes, that's
Yeah.
operational. That improves the flow. So,
Okay. Okay.
and I got one more.
The public schools.
Yes. Okay, so and here's my concern, and also my understanding is that we pay taxes to the Lee County School District. School district is responsible for providing public schools. The elementary school on the beach is provided by the school district. It's not really a town requirement per se. However, the way this is written is our level of service is we want one school. And again, it's a little bit like the roadway. I think we should keep that there. Even if we're not the ones that control that, we are publicly stating as a town what we expect, what we want. And we've had a battle for our school after the hurricane. And should we have a battle in the future, I would certainly like my town to make it very clear and explicit that a beach school is important. There's value to it, and it's part of our community. And that, should any battle in the future arise, it's been stated as a policy and as a priority for the entire town.
Comprehensive
Yeah.
plan. I agree with you, Patrick. Does anybody disagree with that?
No.
Okay, Sarah.
No.
So yeah, maintain that, not remove that strike through if we
Yeah.
can.
So keep it the way it is, or add back in some of the items that were struck through?
Yeah, the struck through with the elementary school right there.
Just the elementary school portion?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, would you want to eliminate, or would you want to remove the strike through? What if that school evolved into a
Magnet school.
or K through 12? So wouldn't you want to keep all the options in?
Would that be a special purpose school?
I don't know. I think so, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you might consider how Sanibel has don't they have like a water school or something?
I think we should leave it all in.
Elementary school and middle school.
What was the basis for removing it? Do you know? The addition of the new language?
That we don't necessarily have any control over that as a town, that it's truly a Lee County issue, and that we have not had a middle school or high school. So I think that the idea was that maybe we just remove that. But I mean, if we want to keep all of it,
You could just say at least one public school.
I mean, it's overkill. There'll probably never be a high school there, but what's the harm of leaving it?
I would like to leave it as is.
okay. Keep the underlined or no?
I don't know. Does it conflict with, because it's almost like the underline is replacing.
I think it could be in addition to.
Okay.
Yeah, that reads to me like an addition.
I don't think the underline conflicts with what was stricken.
I could make that a 5.
Okay. Okay, are we all on agreement on the school? Then the last one is concurrency. Or the next? Anything? It's all.
How do we do concurrency management if the system is strict? Are there processes, packages, applications that are used to measure this?
I mean, it's evaluated when developments come in.
So as each one comes in,
Yeah,
it's
if
evaluated.
it rises to that level, not all
The pickleball
developments
court
will.
didn't.
Yeah, but really rather large ones that could be impactful, and that has to do with kind of what we've talked about with like traffic.
Right.
You know, sometimes we need to know what the traffic demand is going to be, and sometimes it's like, no, this is that 7-Eleven that's replacing a 7-Eleven is not going to impact traffic very much. So,
Okay, anything else here? Okay, Sarah, do we need a motion to transfer this to the town council?
yes, please.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Nice and simple.
I'll second it.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second to transfer this. Do I need to roll call this one? Oh, just for the heck of it. Patrick?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Sarah, for all your work on this. Okay, next item is administrative agenda. Anything from anyone? Amy? LPA items and reports. Don, do you have anything?
No.
How about you, John?
No, I don't.
Jim?
Well, I would like to wish Patrick the very best.
Thank you.
I was almost every meeting say I was thoroughly impressed with his knowledge, his application, and what he had to say. You will be missed.
Thank you.
You will be, Patrick, but it's also going to be really nice to be able to call you and talk to you about these
Yep.
cases.
Looking forward to it.
So thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to use Patrick as my what you call it line. The
Yes, your call a friend.
Call a friend line.
Doug, anything under LPA items?
No, ma'am.
How about you, Patrick?
No, just want to say thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor, and I'll be around.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You'll be on that side now.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to remind the staff about reviewing mobile vendor permits so you have time to bring that up. And I wanted to ask a question about impact fees. Is the town council discussing impact fees at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh,
They
Go ahead.
will be.
They will be.
Yes. I believe a proposal's been submitted for an impact fee evaluation
okay.
because that hasn't been done in a long time. And
We don't need to say anything, and there's
in the
nothing we need
works.
to do. This
No,
okay, good.
nope.
I just wanted to make sure that was happening. Okay.
Yes.
Anything, Sarah? Any big picture things happening at our next meeting? Do you know yet? Too much stuff for you to even think of. Okay. Nancy, anything from you?
Yes, I wanted to let you know that the expedited, I guess it's being referred to as the expedited variance reviews, that is now before town council for second reading. And we anticipate that it will pass. And once it does pass, there was a request that we add it to your agenda. So to make sure that we notify the public that if there is an objection to something, that they have that opportunity to raise that and require an additional hearing before the town council. So we'll be adding that to your agenda itself. There'll be a statement made somewhere there. And they've also asked that we include it in the comments that we make at the beginning of our quasi-judicial hearings.
I have a question. So, when someone objects, does it have to be someone who is a resident of the town? It can be anybody. It could be Joe Blow from Timbuktu.
Can be anyone, but not necessarily staff. I mean, if we disagree with what
okay.
you've done.
But anybody at all. Somebody who watches it online and says, "Well, I don't like that," and
Yes.
log a complaint. Okay.
Yes, but the challenge is to make sure that the public is aware, anyone is aware that that option is there. So by the announcing it during our hearing, by having it in our agenda, that should be sufficient.
Okay.
And I would also like to have a friendly reminder that anybody who has not updated their address with the Lee property appraiser should do so, because we are still getting a lot of postcards returned to us, and we're not sure why. Okay? So everybody out there in TV land, please make sure that your address is correct.
You know, the town PIO is doing such a great job right now. Maybe she could do some posts about that because, yeah, okay. All right, there's nothing else before us. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned at 11:02.
Good work today.
Thank you very much.
It's a lot.